Hello, this is DeathToBoredom, and to start this video off, there are still many people in the world that give Gundam Seed Destiny this undeserved hate because of many factors that include reusing animation, constant flashbacks, recap episodes, their favorite character getting the short end of the stick, or one character being too powerful, mid-story, mid-animation, etc. The reason for this is because back then, many people watched this series on TV on a weekly basis. They're very biased towards certain characters, which, is favoritism, and they don't understand people. To top it all off, they know nothing about war. And again, this is, back then, as in like 2004. Or whatever, around those times. I think that the English version came out maybe 2006, 7. Anyway, I was one of these people anyway that, watched it back then and didn't know anything about war and didn't want to understand other people, which I maybe Mir Campbell, I guess. And I hated Durandal, of course, because villain, and Ray, I didn't like him either. But in any case, so yeah, I was one of these people, and nowadays people have grown. It's been almost 20 years at least since the English release, and the movie Gundam Seed Freedom is coming out in Japan soon, so there's no better time to address this, in my opinion. So let's get started. For one thing, I'd like to mention that Gundam Seed and Destiny are available to watch on Gundam Info for the time being due to the movie being released. Yeah, sure, Freedom isn't available in English, but just it's a good time to, watch the show. Then they'll be having an English subbing release at some point, I know for sure. But in any case, after this video, you can watch the Gundam Seed and Destiny for free, and you'll see what I mean. I really wouldn't mind doing a watch along together if it were allowed. It'd be my 4th time rewatching the series, and I know I'd still love it, especially since I had to do research clips for this video, so I have a fresh idea of what I'm getting myself back into. And no, this video isn't sponsored, and I wish it was. Also, this video is getting demonetized anyway if I were monetized, because I'll be using a lot of clips and music from the series. Let's see. So, how it was, weekly new episode releases meant that by episode 34, you'd forget what happened anywhere between episodes 3 and 15. People tend to forget the importance of one's actions as a result of not remembering past episodes. In general, though, the people who hate on Destiny vocally and strongly is why there's a community for it, and why people start questioning other characters like, why is Athra not making a choice? Why didn't he join Kira earlier when they probably haven't watched the show in years? They'll make these questioning things because all these haters keep on talking about what they hate about the show, right? And then people will just look for new things to not like about it or something, In any case, special thanks to Iris from Hololive for still loving Seed and liking Destiny even when there are so many haters in her chat. But I just really needed this example to get my point across to this day, it has not been properly addressed. After all, this stream of hers was 2 months ago as of this video. Also, special thanks to the Iris fan Discord for helping me find the stream. Alright, so I hope that Iris watches this one day, but that's only if this video actually takes off, so that she can be more proud of loving the series, and it goes the same for anyone who had gripes about the show. I'll be going through a list of disagreements about the show that I can think of. There will be a lot to go through, and I believe I'll get my point across very early on. The rest of the arguments going forward will build my foundation. Okay, topic number 1. Shin having the protagonist role stolen from him. After Kira and Archangel lost, Zaft had the clear advantage over the war. One example of this is that Shin destroyed about 3 destroy Gundams with Destiny, Luna Maria, and Rei. When Kira appears again though, it was clear from episode 42 onwards who the main protagonists were. Even though Shin lost the role, he lost it very late into the series. Episodes 41 plus is the ending arc. Back when it first aired, many people wanted Kira and Athrun to come back as the main protagonists. Mitsuo Fukuda knew what the majority wanted. At the same time, to have the role taken for the last sprint is pretty respectable. I'll be going more into it later. Shin being unable to switch sides when Zaft's clearly the bad guys at that point. Now, this is just from the audience's point of view, alright? That Zaft is clearly the bad guy because, you know, they get to see everything. But Shin is not able to see everything. You have to understand that. And I'll be going through that. So, he couldn't switch sides because of Durandal and Rei. Durandal seemed like a good politician and recognized his feats, giving him a faith badge to honor it. And he's basically being given the hero and VIP treatment, you know, getting a new toy as well, like Destiny, an upgrade from Impulse, right? And then the second reason, Rei, which is actually the most important factor, Rei constantly monitors Shin and acts to prevent Shin from turning. When Athrun tries to reason with Shin in episode 42, if it weren't for Rei, he would have turned right then and there. I think another detail that people forget is that Shin doesn't know the inner workings of what's going on. His mind is that of any other soldier. He doesn't see what's going on in the background because of what's in front of him. And of course, remember that he is 16. Alright? But, you know, we can actually take it this way in that, like, Shin is a soldier if they were the main protagonist, you know, like if he gained enough power, it's like he's just any soldier but with more power kind of thing. I think that's like a good way to put him for perspective's sake. And what is a regular soldier like? Well, for one thing, you know, they would not be informed about political stuff or whatever, like, for example, about that replacement with Lacus, right? And, I mean, he shouldn't be expected to understand either. I mean, in the first place, you know, you're fighting for this country, and this country, or the person representing this country has given you this faith badge, meaning that you're their hero and you're their VIP and whatnot, and you even have like the best suit from them. It's like you're getting such great treatment that how can you see this this country as bad, you know, or like the representative to be bad, right? Because he's like giving you all this good stuff and whatnot, and he was even giving Athrun all these good stuff. It's like why is it that this guy's bad to Athrun and the others? It's like some things just don't make sense from that point of view, right? But obviously, you know, he would need more time to think about it. I mean, it's natural for people to need more time to think about it because it's like it's like going 180, you know, you can't just go 180. People normally can't just switch sides so easily. In the first place, they would start off frustrated because that's like saying, you know, you were lied to and everything you know and love is wrong, kind of thing. You know, that's basically what they're telling you at the end of the day, right? Another overlooked detail is that Rei has always helped Shin. In episode 30, for example, Rei helps Shin escape with Stella. Rei is also the reason Shin won against Kira. In fact, they would have possibly won against Kira's Strike Freedom too if it weren't for Athrun crashing the party. But just remember that Rei is the biggest reason Shin wouldn't betray Zaft. He has helped Shin so many times, and they almost feel like best friends. Why would Shin not listen to him, right? Even though, in actuality they're not best friends, but it's really easy to tell that Rei's using him at the latter half of Destiny, but when you, sorry, not latter half, or like the point when they received the new Gundams like Legend and Destiny. But like before that, if you check before that though, they actually, like, it almost feels like they're best friends, and if you were to rewatch the episodes, then I hope that you check that out or pay attention to that part, because Rei really felt like a bro at times. Again, that part with Stella was a perfect example, but obviously he does these things partially because of his own experience, his own gains and whatnot, and his own reasonings. He has his own reasonings, right? But nonetheless, they can sometimes, or maybe oftentimes, align with Shin. Okay, so the next part is how Kira and Athrun are so overpowered after the defeat of Freedom. When they come back in their new suits, they just completely overwhelm Shin, really. But it's mostly Kira that's the complaint, right? Like people mostly complain about Kira, but they don't complain about how Athrun won his end. So this guy's injured, like, and his head is even bleeding, so he has a throbbing headache while fighting Shin, and yet he still wins the duel between them. It's crazy. But why that is the case? Okay. So I mean, this is to say that people shouldn't hate Kira for being overpowered when Athrun was doing exactly the same thing, and the only reason that people think of him that way is because of all those beams, the beam spamming, and just destroying hordes and hordes of units and whatnot. But the final coffin to the nail is beating Shin and Rei so decidingly, right? But again, we'll get into that. So the truth has always been that, so we'll start with Athrun. Okay, Athrun has always been stronger than Shin. Okay, throughout the series, the show, you're gonna see time and time again how Athrun is better than him, and that's why he's mentoring him and stuff like that, right? And he's better than him in all fields. Okay, whether it's shooting, whether it's physical prowess, whether it's the know-how of combat, whether it's and CQC even, right? And then the strategy, battle strategy, he just has all this experience, right? And he's been a soldier a lot longer than Shin, for one thing, okay? But I mean, I can't really say the same for Kira. I mean, yeah, I can say the same for Kira actually, but when it comes to Athrun and Kira though, it's Athrun had to go through all this training first, while Kira didn't. But again, we'll get into that. Well, actually, we won't get into that later, really. I'm just gonna say right now, it's just because Kira's the ultimate coordinator, and Athrun had to equalize by going through the training anyway. But yeah, the canon is that Kira and Athrun are equals in strength, especially in Mobile Suit anyway. Mobile Suit and gaming. But in terms of like fighting, like, you know, CQC and shooting a gun, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Athrun would be better anyway, but I don't know for sure. Cause like the thing is that in gonna see, you know, like you have Kira flipping Sai off, literally during the desert arc anyway. But in any case, whatever. Continuing on, I'm getting way too off topic now. But yeah, you know, Infinite Justice, seriously injured, still wins the first encounter. Okay, so Kira is equal in Athrun's strength, and therefore Shin could never win against Kira, and like also obviously against Athrun as well. And the thing is that, so let's see. Yeah, so it's the new units, right? So Destiny doesn't have. Well, okay, even if Destiny had the separatable parts, it doesn't matter anymore. Okay, like Kira has already seen it, so he's probably not gonna fall for it again, kind of thing, right? Like the reason that that Shin won that last fight against Freedom was because of three things. So one was studying the Freedom. Two was because of Ray giving him extra information that he would otherwise not know about with Freedom, which is his fighting habits. And Ray told him that you know, he only aims for limbs and the firearms, and never goes for the cockpit. So that's one example, right? And then, and like, you know, Shin not knowing that, and Ray knew that, right? Like, did he not watch how Freedom fights? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it that he needed that information from Ray? But whatever, whatever on that really. I'm looking into that too much. Okay, but and then the third one is the separatable parts. Okay, so why the separatable parts though is because I'm pretty sure Kira has never witnessed the impulse separate into multiple parts. Okay, like in my third rewatch, I believe, I'm pretty sure that I was looking for that detail when rewatching Seed for the third time, or sorry, Destiny for the third time. Okay, and I vaguely remember that Shin has never revealed that ability of impulses to the Freedom, to Kira, and that's a detail that's, you know, you gotta applaud Fukuda for that, the director of the show, right? Director Fukuda. And also another thing is that, like, obviously it was planned that Kira wouldn't die as well, because okay, so in the remastered version, you're gonna see the Strike Freedom in the opening, but before that, like in the old one, in the when it was on TV in 2005 or yeah, I believe it was 2005 anyway. I don't actually remember. In any case, there was no Strike Freedom shown at all. Okay, so everything was a surprise back then. Okay, and director Fukuda made sure that, you know, everything would not, there'd be no spoilers at all. That's the way that it was back then. You know, everything has to have its first time impact and needs to like be a lasting feeling, and like it's just like, oh my god, so good, oh my god, yes, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. But in any case, we don't get that anymore in the remaster version. We don't get that surprise anymore. But back then, you know, like it it was definitely already planned in the first place that Kira would not die. For one thing, okay. So when on that final impale of the Excalibur by Impulse, okay, it goes through the shield, right? And then it goes impaling into the stomach area, okay. But you know, Kira readied that shield, okay. So he covered his body as a result of that, and then he readied the sword as well. He readied his own saber, sword, saber. Anyway, and he impaled the head of the Impulse, making it so that Shin was blinded, and then on the impact of the Excalibur destroying, going through the shield, Shin would not be able to see where he stabbed through, right? And then there's also another possibility that Kira could have moved the shield down, but they can't show that because then it would give away that Kira would survive. Okay. But yeah, so that's what happened. And when you see that, at first people would not think that he would survive. A lot of people would not think that he survived, but if you looked into that detail, if you read it, if you were able to absorb these details, then you would know that he'd survive anyway. But you know, obviously, if you go for a second rewatch, or if you go for a rewatch, then you're gonna see that detail more clearly, and it's like, oh wow, nice. But yeah, goes to show how well made the show was anyway, in terms of like the direction of the narrative, and I guess animation direction as well, of course. And then there's also Shin like stabbing through Atherin's blue goof when he's trying to get away, right? Okay, like Atherin goes through the same thing, okay? Like, nobody bats an eye to Atherin. Like, oh, Kira gets stabbed and he doesn't die. And there's that explosion as well. But like, when Atherin gets it, oh, nobody bats an eye. But hey, like, I'm guessing that, everybody knows where the direction is going at that point. But it doesn't change the fact that he was stabbed through and his unit just got exploded. It does that fact does not change. Okay, so it's like you can't just be hating on Kira for that when Atherin uses the same trick. But I mean, the thing is that like Atherin, he didn't even like use his shield to cover himself or anything. Okay. Like, Shin actually just stabs through him clearly, and his camera was not the head of his destiny was not destroyed either. He was not damaged at all. So it's like, how the hell does he survive, kind of thing. Okay. And the only thing that I can think of is that Shin just subconsciously, respects Atherin too much. That he subconsciously stabs near the cockpit instead of right through the middle, and you get to see that when you see the stab. Okay, like when it goes through the goof at the back end, you're gonna see that it's more on the left side instead of in the middle, right? And I'm guessing that Shin just like he didn't want to stab through the middle. Instead, he stabs through the right end, and he thinks that that's enough. He just did not want to see in his mind that he's stabbing through Atherin subconsciously, of course, and maybe not stab through Mayrin as well. He's just gonna like stab around the cockpit completely. I don't know, man. Like, if that's the case, then yeah, like, right, like, good for Shin as a character, right? Like I would like that out of Shin. Like that makes me like him more if that's actually the case anyway. But I really can't see any other reason, okay? Like why are you missing otherwise, right? Cuz like you're like this completely destructive merciless monster throughout the series, and yet this one time you're not being a monster, and it's because he has doubt, okay? Like there's doubt in his heart, and that's like the perfect way to go about it, you know? Like I can't see any other way being like the right way to direct this when you're not gonna have him, when you're not gonna have Athrun destroy the camera or use his shield the same way like Kira did, or like maybe even use the goof's arm to like try to push the sword right before the impact, right, to the left or right or something like that. I don't know, like do something kind of thing, right? Do something. But yeah, that's the only reason that I can think of, and I'm like really sure that that's how it went. But in any case, okay, so the first topic was how Shin was too weak compared to Kira and Athrun, and then the second topic is how like Kira and Athrun survive, I guess. Which I actually didn't make a topic for, oops, but whatever. Moving on from there. Let's see, so Athrun, so this is another topic, okay? So these topics are like about how people disagreed or hate things about Destiny or disagreed with it, right? In any case, after not being able to make a choice to switch sides when Kira joins the battlefield. So it's like, why is it that this guy takes so long to make a choice, you know? Like, why is it that he keeps hesitating? Why is it that he can never, like, be completely forward and like, just choose a side, or, like, stick to his guns, or like, just keep up the argument? Like, he keeps on losing to Ray, you know? Like, every time Ray comes in, he just completely shuts down Athrun, and Athrun can't do anything about it, because like the thing is that the things that Ray says, like, it hits him, you know? For example, when Athrun punches Shin for defeating Freedom, okay, Ray then comes in and says that, like, you know, they're the enemies, and Zaft can, like, they made them, they say if Zaft says that they're the enemy, then they're the enemy because we work for Zaft, okay? So, you know, we're Zaft soldiers, and we shouldn't be questioning our you know, country or whatever, right? And like, that hits Athrun because he used to be like that, right? And it's like, and then he changes after, like, trying to get to his father, right? The point is, though, that he sees their point of view, and he used to be like them, so he's like struggling with that, and not struggling in that, like, telling them, oh, like, you should be questioning your country, you know? No, because in the first place, he doesn't have a solid argument against his own, against Zaft's choice, right? Like, there's no way to tell them that Zaft is evil, because before this point, they didn't do anything wrong, right? Or like, not, or like, they may do something, they may make a questionable choice or two, but they didn't do anything that's like clear that they're evil, kind of thing, okay? Like, that was not made clear until, I believe, episode, well, either way though, it was anywhere between episode 35 and 38. So I believe that Athrun starts his escape at episode 39, and when he does try to escape, he'll tell Shin that Ray and Durandal, what they say is going to destroy the world or whatever, you know, he tells them outright right then and there, right? And that's the thing, like, he wasn't sure of that until that point. And why that's the case is because after the destruction of Freedom and the Archangel, Durandal makes his intentions clear to Atherin. Whether it was directly or indirectly, or like Atherin could see through him at that point when he meets Durandal again, you know, like whatever it was. If you watch it, if you watch the episodes, you're gonna see why, kind of thing, right? But the point is that Atherin had every reason to be like, you know, in the middle, like not able to change sides or whatever, is because there was no clear wrong on Zath's side before. Okay, so the next topic is, you guessed it, Jesus Yamato. Kira being too OP. Now, the thing is that people may be complaining, but, you know, it's just because the rest of the arc, so the end of Gundam Seed Destiny feels underwhelming, okay? And I can understand that, okay? Like, it would be more compelling if there were a few, maybe at least one more fight where and Kira struggling more and Atherin struggling more, I guess. But I mean, in terms of writing with the character and the narrative and understanding their point of view, right? It's on par. Like it's just having it any other way would be against their character, okay? So it'd be a disrespect to their character, okay? So why that's the case, okay? For one thing, you know, Kira and Atherin have an entire war of experience under their belt over Rei and Shin, okay? And like the entirety of Destiny, it was just Atherin and Kira, like their roles were finding themselves and also finding their so for Atherin is kind of like more like finding himself, but like for Kira it was having a reason to fight. So Kira and Lacus wanted to just live in peace on the island without conflict and whatnot. They didn't want any part of this until Durandal made the choice to assassinate Lacus, okay? And that's when they decide they have to start fighting now, because Durandal's choice, whatever he made, like why he made this choice in the first place is like unacceptable, you know? And then we gotta go back to Seed, in that Kira, okay, remember that he beat Rowley Crusade, okay? So it's like, how could Rei ever live up to that, you know? This guy beat Rowley Crusade 2 years ago, and then 2 years later, like at the end of the Destiny arc, at the end arc of Destiny, sorry, okay, so the ending of Destiny, in a 1v1, okay, Kira not only is 2 years older and has and he's already shown his prowess in battle, right? He now has Strike Freedom, which is a complete upgrade over Freedom, okay? Like, how are you supposed to win against that compared to Rowley Crusade, who is obviously better than Rei, okay, as a fighter, okay? Like, it's just not even a contest, all right? Because for one thing, Ralakusei was older than Ray at that. So like Ralakusei basically had more experience. Okay, he had a lot more experience under his belt, and he was a commanding officer. Okay, of some kind or whatever. Like he was a commander of some kind, right? And then like Ray is just a soldier. Okay, a foot soldier. All right, like. He was not chosen for the Providence, okay? It was Athrun that was chosen for the Providence. And Ray didn't have a Gundam, okay, before that. He had a white goof, alright? So that's the facts of it. And like how could you even see anything more than that? Right? Like and people wanted Shin to fight Kira at least one more time, okay, during the final arc, which is, fine and all, but the fact was that in the first encounter, Shin just like, he already lost, okay? Like, it was even like during the first sequence of combat that he lost, okay? But like that, and then it's just like it's a complete 180 from how Shin won his final battle with freedom, and it's like, why is that the case? It's like, why is it that Kira is like winning so decidingly again? And the reason for that is because of one, his new unit, and two, okay, Shin does not have any surprise factor anymore, okay? And then I guess we'll add another one, is that Kira has now learned how Shin fights, okay? Like, it's not a matter of like of Shin having the advantage of Kira not really understanding his fighting style anymore or whatever. Like, after that final fight, right, he understood Shin's fighting style, and there's no surprise factor. Even if Destiny could separate his parts, Kira will see it coming and will have a counter to that, right? And then there's just like, again, Athrun is Kira's equal and Kira's Athrun's equal, so yeah, he's just gonna win, right? But when Ray comes in, it's a 2v1 against Kira, and Kira could have lost that one, like two really strong units, and Ray is not to be underestimated when they're working together, Shin and Ray, right? But yeah, alone though, like in a 1v1, they cannot win for these reasons. So it was already decided from the very beginning, basically, like they want to keep to their character. They don't want to disrespect Kira and Athrun, okay? Like, they're already being disrespected by the audience when those that cheered for Kira's lost when he for the freedom and impulse fight, right? Like, he was already disrespected enough at that point, and Fukuda was like, he let that happen. He made it happen because he knows that there are people that would want that for Shin to win against Kira, because then it's like, why is Shin the protagonist if he's not gonna win against Kira, kind of thing. That's the thing. Like in his own show, like he has to at least win against Kira once, and Fukuda gave that, right? And then for episode 41 plus, you guys gotta remember that that's 9 episodes left, okay? And Shin had his spotlight for 41 episodes or whatever, 40 episodes, whatever. Point is that he had his spotlight for a very long time, so It's time to give the roles back to Athrun and Kira kind of thing, right? Like for the last 10 episodes. And that's fair, okay? Like 40 episodes for a main protagonist in this day and age is very respectable now, okay? People have new perspectives now, and like you just can't have that old perspective anymore, because well, having 50 episodes, like who's gonna watch that much kind of thing, right? Is that kind of thing. It's like it really depends on the person and what they want, right, out of the shows. Personally, I think that Seed and Destiny are great shows, and like anybody can enjoy them, and like it may not be someone's favorite, but it'll definitely be enjoyable to watch. And throughout the 50 episodes, I mean, personally, I found it all compelling, but that's only because I'm so knowledgeable about a lot of things now, which is like the war, how war works. I know how the characters work. I know their experiences. I know their past, and I understand where each character comes from, like their point of views, basically. And then there's also just like the animation, the sound effects, the direction, the impacts, the point of impacts, the music, all that stuff, right? It's like it just all works because Fukuda is a great director of the shows, of the series, really. But in any case, let's see. Oh yeah, and I also want to mention that, in the second episode of Seed, okay, not Destiny, Seed, I want to talk about that. So, in that episode, this guy, okay, this motherfucker, remade the OS, okay, the operating system of the Strike Gundam, okay? Like, the reason behind it being remade was because it was incomplete, though. But the fact is that he remade the OS in like a minute during a fight, okay, with Azaku. With like, hello? I mean, how are you going to remake an entire OS during the fight and fight back while doing so, like in just 1 minute? Like an OS, just think of Windows or Linux or Mac, like, but it's just incomplete. I mean, obviously it's Windows, Linux, and Mac, they're more sophisticated and proficient and whatever, because whatever. But point is that like that's what an OS is, okay? And he's like just remaking this, and that's just not possible as a regular human being, okay? Like from the very beginning, this guy was OP, okay? And basically, he was just limited by his machine and his experience. Like, he's never been in the battlefield, right? But the fact is that, he knows how to fight, okay? And he has not only complete understanding of technology, but will also trailblaze it, okay? Like, he's like, if it weren't for war, he'd be like the next Bill Gates or whatever, or the next, or whatever, like the next trailblazer of technology kind of thing, okay? Like that's what he would be doing, right? But I don't know if he's a born fighter, but the fact that he was able to like make all these sophisticated movements as well from the very beginning with the Strike Gundam makes me think that he did have take some fighting classes, or maybe he studied some fighting, or like learn them from movies or absorb them somehow, you know what I mean? and that like, yeah, I mean, well, if he's this good with technology, then it's not a surprise that he can also fight that well, just from watching movies or blah blah, like absorbing it, how these things work or whatever. But in any case, though, I'm just saying, this dude was only limited by his machine and not having experience in war. And now that he has both those things, he has his ultimate form of strike freedom, and he has like about a year's worth of war experience, right? He's just unstoppable, kind of thing. And that's why in the movie Gundam Seed Freedom, like that's why they had to make a new species or whatever, a new race that's even better than coordinators. Okay, like that's the theme of the movie anyway. And obviously it's like it's 2 years later, but like it's like, where were they, kind of thing, right? And I would have to guess that they were still in development, okay? And like these guys could have been still like 16 at the time or whatever, and they're still like they're just hidden somewhere, still doing their training, and then 2 years later they feel they are ready, so now then they come out, kind of thing. Because like the thing is that they are an organization of their own that's separate from Earth Federation and Zaft, that I know of, okay? That I know of. I don't actually like know the details. Like they could have released details that they are maybe like part of the Earth Federation of some kind. But if they were, though, then it's like, why would you keep these guys hidden, kind of thing, okay? And especially with the Earth Federation's policy about how they have to be naturals, okay? Like this is like the entire reason for them to be fighting is because they're naturals, and they're trying to prove that naturals, can be coordinators or whatever, and like these guys are supposed, and these new villains in the movie are supposed to be surpassing coordinators, which means that they're not naturals either. So that's why I feel like that they should be their own faction. Like they just should not be a part of either side. Okay. How they get the money or whatever, I wouldn't know though. But in any case, moving on. Lacus Klein, okay? Lacus Klein being a Mary Sue. So, with Lacus Klein being Kira's partner, that would be a reason for people to be going after her, because they hate Kira. So, in line with that, they're gonna hate Lacus after. Like it's just like if Kira's hated this much, they would want to hate everybody that's like with him, kind of thing, I guess. And people will, and haters, they find every reason to hate. They'll look for more reasons to hate. They'll find anything. They'll scrounge for anything at all, kind of thing, right? And Lacus Klein, being Kira's partner, that'll take the cake, kind of thing. But besides that, though, there's then gonna be people that are gonna believe it or whatever, and it's like, why though? Like, the thing is that, so I just don't think that there are any valid reasons to hate Lacus Klein. Like, you can like not like her character because she's like cardboard or whatever, like her personality is a cardboard. Like people will go with that, look for that reason to not like a character is because they're one-dimensional, kind of thing. But if that's your reason, whatever, I don't know. But For any other valid reasons though, like any reason other than that, I wouldn't see any other reason to hate her. Okay, like saying that she's a Mary Sue, I don't understand that, because for one thing she can't fight. Another thing is that she's already had her development in Seed, so like she's had to break up with Atherin and like escape from Zap, and she lost her father. Uh, like, what more do you want from her, kind of thing. But and then like she was about to be assassinated as well, in Destiny. But yeah, so she didn't join the war out of her own volition. She was forced out of hiding, and so that's why she participated, right? And then like let's see. Sorry, just reading through my script here, because like it talks about how Durandal attacked Lacus and Kira, but I think I'm pretty sure I already went through that through the video. You know, like how it's just they were forced back into this, and now they have to make a choice to actually just take over. Okay, like they have to win the war, kind of thing. I actually don't know if they were planning to win the war at all until Durandal like made his evil plans clear, kind of thing. It's like at that point they think that they should actually just take over. But in any case, let's see. So Durandal, you know, he tries to manipulate people using deceit and lies, and you know, you see that with the second Lacus and like how she's being used, right, in the broadcast. That was the point of her character. That was the point of her being Lacus at all, is to manipulate people, and they do this whole act kind of thing, and you know, it had a really good results for Durandal when he did the act. Like it made the people on Earth riot against Logos, and people went after the rich people in their mansions and their headquarters or whatever. You know, they just stormed in and killed everybody in there, and the rich people, the presidents or whatever they are, right? The people that are part of Logos anyway. But yeah, that was the effect it had, and you know, that in itself is like really OP, right? If we're talking about like comparing Lacus to Durandal and Mir, like come on, like don't you guys think that that's pretty OP? Like Lacus doesn't do anything like that, or like even like in the Seed, she had some effect, you know. But again, like I guess, you know, she had enough effect that she gets her own faction, the Lacus faction, and like, you know, there's all these really cool people that are working for her, spies and whatnot, and like they were able to make Strike Freedom and Infinite Justice, and also the ship, their ship anyway, that pink ship with the Zaku eye. I forgot what it's called. Their flagship, I think that's what it's called, the flagship, right? Anyway, but yeah, like, you know, she has to be OP, right? That's the thing. And why she's OP is because, like, under that guise, like the whole morale thing, right? For the people, and like building up her faction with all these skilled people anyway. And the reason for that is just because everybody knows her, how she's very resolute, and she understands people's hearts. So understanding a person's heart, right, and like what they're fighting for, right? So in the first place, in Seed, okay, her role was to be the songstress and morale booster of Zaft. So she, from the moment that she was conceived, that was her role, right? Like, she just had a job already, right then and there. And how long she had that job for, I don't know. Like, maybe she was born into it because of her family, right? Like, her the Klein representative is really high in the Zaft council or military or whatever, anyway. And as a result, she had to play a role or something. Like, I don't really know how it went, but the point is that she did have a role from the very beginning, and it's not like, you know, her charisma came out of nowhere, okay? She built it up, okay? It was built up from the very beginning, and that's why she's like that. But in any case, so yeah, the thing is that soldiers, okay, they are aplenty, and they are the reason that war is possible in the first place, okay? Without soldiers, you can't have a war, all right? It's just like how you can't have a nation, you can't have a city without its people, kind of thing, all right? And when they are, and so like soldiers are the lowest position, okay? They are the pawns, right? And that's where, like, you know, Shin and Rei, like, they were around there, kind of thing. Like, they don't get to know anything or whatever. But Lacus will make things clear. She'll tell them how it is, and she'll, like, give her reasonings, and her reasonings are very good, you know? She'll tell them, what are you fighting for? Why is it that you fight? And remember what you fought for, right? Like, they'll remember, like, tragedies like Junius 7 and the Bloody Mary or incident. Like, there's, like, these incidences, right? And, like, they're very tragic, and that's the reason that people fight, right? That's the reason that these soldiers fight. It's because they think that they're fighting for a noble cause, okay? And when Lacus comes in, that's why she's so effective at her role, is because she's reminding people what they're fighting for. Like that like, if they truly have a noble heart, then you know, like, they shouldn't be fighting for this reason, that it's like destroying all these people. Like, that's not what they should be fighting for. Like, complete destruction of the other side, right? Like, wasn't it that you just wanted to defend yourselves, and, like, you wanted to prove that coordinators are not just monsters or whatever? And then, like, and then, like, that's another thing, right? That's why she becomes the leader of Zaft at the end, and not with Earth forces, like, and that's why, right? Like, she's able to affect the hearts of Zaft soldiers because they knew her, all right, and they've always known her, and then like Durandal is continuing to use that legacy of hers, okay, by making his own Lacus, and that comes back to bite him in the ass when Lacus comes back to the battlefield, because he was using her legacy, and by using her legacy, he's upkeeping the morale, upkeeping the people's love for Lacus, you know? Like, they're not gonna forget about her because he's not letting them forget about her. but like, you know, it's like, yeah, the narrative just works really well in favor for Lacus. Okay, when you break it down, at the end of the day, it was really well done. Okay, the story of Gundam Seed Destiny, and like the direction that it took and everything, it's actually really well done. And like with 50 episodes, it's really hard to keep people into the story, which comes to the next topic. Okay, recycled animations, recaps, constant flashbacks. Okay, people hated this. Okay, and it's because all these things have really bad reputation when it comes to anime. Okay, but I have to make the argument that with 50 episodes, like, people back then, okay, would not be able to remember the story. Okay, it's just not gonna happen. And Fukuda was desperately trying to make it so that people will remember the story, or at least the gist of it. Okay, and like, whether these recap episodes were to give animators a break or what, when I did watch them, in my rewatch, I decided to do it, okay, for at least one episode. And when I did, they did a really good job of recapping it, okay? They did a really good job of recapping all the episodes before it. So if you can't watch the 50 episodes, you can watch the recaps, okay? Like, you can watch like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then you can skip over to the recap episodes, and then like you'll have a really good amount of the story from there, and probably a good understanding of the characters as well. Okay, like, it was actually pretty impressive for me. But this is for people that are rewatching the show. Okay, this isn't for people that are like just their first time watching. All right, for the people that's their first time watching, they should just watch all the episodes, and I don't think that they would need the recaps, but they can use it, because if they watch the recaps, like, the thing is that on your first watch, you're not going to be able to absorb everything that's going on, okay, unless you are already familiar with these topics and themes in anime and stories in general and war. Like, you have to be familiar with these things to be able to absorb and understand what's going on. But if you don't, then you're just enjoying the show as is, and you're not going to be able to understand. And that's the reason to watch the recap episode, is so that then you can use that time to then absorb what was going on, what happened, and like the ideals. And like, even in the recap episodes, like, they'll like talk about their intentions, and talk about, like, they'll give new perspectives during the recap episode. So it's not just recapping, right? So it's like, it's also giving a little bit of new content through I believe the first recap was using Durandal talking during that recap, and like, he was like giving other perspectives during that time anyway. But I can only remember the first recap though. I don't remember the other ones. But in any case though, 50 episodes is 50 episodes, okay? And like, just because some other anime may have done better and didn't use those techniques and whatever, doesn't mean that, you know, that should be the standard. Like, that stuff, whatever anime did that would be like the highest standard, right? Like, I don't know if Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood didn't have any recaps and reused animations, but Like, if they didn't, you have to understand that before before Brotherhood, there was Full Metal Alchemist. Okay, like I don't know if that anime. Oh yeah, that anime did finish. Okay, that anime did finish, and it was and the thing is that that one, they had to like go the original ending route because the mangaka didn't finish the manga at the time. All right, but the fact is that there are like some other factors into like Full Metal Alchemist as to like what can make them bad or whatever, I guess. Like I don't know what they are, because the fact is that I didn't watch Full Metal Alchemist to the fullest. But you know, for example, pacing can be slow. So I'm saying this like, if there are people that watch Full Metal Alchemist, you tell me, was there slow pacing? And like the thing is that, even if I ask people who watch Full Metal Alchemist, these people like they have to be the ones that watched it recently, right? It can't be people that watched it like back then. Like they wouldn't know. Like, oh, it's been like 10 years, 20 years since I've watched Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, so you tell me though, if you are one of those that watched it recently or can remember all these things about Full Metal Alchemist. Is the pacing, if it was too slow or whatever, and the direction of the story, and the narration, and like the characters, and were there any reused animation? Were there any recap episodes? So like, were there any of these kinds of flaws in Full Metal Alchemist? And then maybe this wouldn't be the case in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but they had Full Metal Alchemist as reference and the manga as reference to then make Brotherhood the best anime that it could be, kind of thing. Okay, like they learn from their mistakes in Full Metal Alchemist, and then Brotherhood as a result became the perfect product. And I would say that's the perfect product just because it was amongst the top of the list in my anime list for the longest time. Like I don't know if it was first place, but I do know like first place for a long time, but I do know that it was first place at some point, and for like maybe multiple points even. But point is that that's why I would say that it perfected its craft, kind of thing, right? But Gundam Seed Destiny only gets one iteration. Okay, but I say that, but remastered is the second iteration though, so I can't really like give leeway to those faults at that point. But here's me saying like recap episodes, recycled animations, constant flashbacks. Now recycled animations, maybe that can yeah, sure, fault. It can be a fault. But recap episodes and constant flashbacks may not actually be a fault, okay? And it's because, again, Fukuda doesn't think that people would, understand these characters and what he's trying to tell about these characters, right? Like he's trying to give their perspectives. He's trying to justify them. That's right. He's trying to justify their characters. He wants people to understand that these characters have, like, they'll have their faults, but they're justified, kind of thing, right? Like, they have their reasons, and they're not excuses. Like, it is their story, and it is also, them as human beings, okay? Like, he wants to portray them as they are, as human beings with their human faults, Kira and Athrun, well, Kira is like less human, right? And that's because he's the ultimate coordinator. And it's fine for him to be that way, okay? Because he's the ultimate coordinator. And being the ultimate coordinator means that you're really overpowered. And if people are saying that he's too overpowered or whatever, you know what? That's the fault that he has to live with, kind of thing, right? But I am justifying the reasons for it, right? Like, it's not like it's out of nowhere, and it's not like it's just excuses, and it's not like it's poorly written. Okay, he's not poorly written. That's the thing. And people think that Seed and Destiny have these poorly written parts. Yes, in Seed, that giant explosion on Strike when his cockpit is like fully open or whatever, Kira's cockpit, right, is completely open to the blast, and he should have like burned and died to that. Like, not even his coordinator, not even his pilot suit. Sorry, his pilot suit was not like torn to pieces or burned to pieces, you know? Like, not even that. Like, even in the manga you'll find it, that his suit was still intact. And that is a fault in writing, okay? Like, that is a mistake in itself, but they kept it anyway. They wanted to keep it because I believe that Mitsuo Fukuda, like, he still holds pride in the direction of it because of people's reactions to it, okay? People's reactions back then were like, oh my god, Kira died, how could they do this? Oh my god, like, I want Kira to live. Like, you know, a lot of people would have been like that. I know I was, right? Because he's the main character and he was likable, and like, you know, the way that he fights was so good, right? Like, it was just so, he was just so awesome, kind of thing, right? And like, that's why people wanted him to live. And, you know, in the first place, he was gonna live, right? Like, that was the direction that he was taking. He was going to keep Kira living, but he wanted people to think that he died, you know? Like, that's why he did it. And you can fault him for like not keeping it into the character or whatever, like, you know, like, basically it was plot armor. It was literal plot armor, and people would not let him live it down, kind of thing. And the thing is that he knows that, and he accepts it, and he'll accept that punishment, and he will even not change the direction in the remaster version, even though he could have. Okay, in the remaster version, they're redrawing everything. Okay, everything is hand drawn again and blah blah. And he could have went that direction to like make it so that the cockpit wouldn't be like sliced open by Athrun, and that like maybe you know, it could have been some kind of different direction that Athrun doesn't get to have close up explosion range or whatever. You know, he could have done anything, but he didn't. Okay, because he took pride in the reaction that people had back then, that like, you know, this is what started it all, with people not wanting Kira to die. And then also when Kira lives after the show completes, people hate this part so much that like it comes to become a domino effect on the rest of the series, right? Like, he's accepting this as part of the series' personality, that, you know, the hate that it got is, you know, it plays a part, and, you know, love it or hate it or whatever, it is what it is, and he's not going to change that. And I respect that of him, that he kept it anyway, and for whatever reason. But like, I choose to believe that he's like that resolute of a director that he will not conform to people's pressure. Yeah, their pressure, right? And that he knows what he wants out of things, and like he will accept everything that comes out of it, like for him, maybe it's a punishment, maybe it's not, but he'll accept it either way, like I really respect that as a director, because not a lot of people can like win under the pressure kind of thing. It may be like a dent on his genius as the director of the show or whatever, but the rest of the show, the rest of the series, before and after that, right, were just fine. They were great. They were like near perfect, even, I would have to say. And like letting that one scene win over like all the rest of it is just not, it's unbecoming of us as a human being, I think. I mean, every time I see like all this hate, like these haters, they seem so rabid, like they just, and it feels like they can never move on. That's the thing. It's like, how do these people live their lives like this kind of thing? Like, I feel so bad for them. That's why I'm making this video. It's like it's like, I don't think, maybe these haters won't move on, but the thing is that I don't want people to like follow these kinds of people anymore. And I'll do my best to like try to make that happen. Even though like I'm not gonna get many people they're like, I'm a person with no backing at all. Like I have no audience or whatever. I have no clout. I have no fans. I have no built up channel, right? I'm a nobody, so I can only do what I can do, which is just making as much people aware as possible that I can as myself. And like, whether that only reaches like 100 people or whatever, that's fine, it is what it is. But yeah, like, it's just yeah, it is all to say that like the direction is not like, you shouldn't look at just one part of it or even like a few parts of it. You should look at it as a whole. And by looking at it as a whole, you can then understand why all these things were necessary. Recap episodes were necessary, in my opinion, especially for back then. And even now, when like people won't understand the story and the characters, like if you hate this person, if you hate that person, if you hate the story or whatever, then you didn't choose to understand like these things, right? And like you probably didn't even look at the recap episode, right? Because it's like, it's a recap episode, and recap episodes have a bad reputation. So obviously, why look at it? Why watch it? Kind of thing, right? But if you truly want to try to understand everything about it, then I would suggest like watching the recap episode too. If you cannot comprehend a lot of the things that goes on, right? That's my advice anyway. But if you can understand all these things, then Gundam Seed and Destiny are really good. Will be really good shows to you. And then reusing animation. Okay, so this is the one thing that like people would never understand back then, But now with Jujutsu Kaisen, with what happened to that, this is one of the biggest reasons why I'm making this video now, is because people are now becoming a lot more aware, and now animators are being justified that they've always been run ragged, okay? And the reason for these reused animations is because 50 episodes is no small feat, okay? Especially one with Gundam, okay? Lots of details, lots of background, lots of everything, okay? And like the color composition and all that, they have to get it all right. They have to get everything right. And that's not an easy feat at all, okay? Like, in my opinion, anime is like is a work of gods, okay? Like, and animation in general that's like hand drawn, right? And even like 3D animation that's like all this like godly animation and whatnot, that's also God's work kind of thing. Like, it's just these people have transcended so far above human comprehension of skill, and that's why that I would like call them like God's work kind of thing, because it really is like as a person with no skill, okay, if you were to try to catch up to these people, it is not possible, okay? It just isn't, okay? You have to be someone that is very talented, or you'd have to like go through 2 to 3 years of harsh training, okay, of complete motivation and like understanding that you have to like work every single day or whatever, understanding and studying animation, okay, or the works of it, or all these kinds of things, right? And many people cannot do that at all, okay? And you have to understand that there's like 7 billion people on this earth, and like even 0.0001% of that being talented enough to do animation is enough to like give you all these shows and whatnot, right? Like, that's like about, it could be 70,000 animators of some kind, 3D, 2D, hand-drawn, blah blah, right? Like, but 70,000 is a sizable amount. It's good enough to give you like 50 animes per season and more, like with other cartoons like Netflix and whatnot, right? Like, studios in themselves only have about 100 or so employees, and even less animators, like 20 to 30 in a small anime studio, right? But like, 50 to 100 is a sizable amount for even a regular anime studio, I believe. But this is just from it's just an educated guess. I didn't like do any research prior to this. Like, it's just what I've learned from back then and what I've retained kind of thing. Like, I still follow animation YouTube videos and whatnot. Like, I still follow what goes on in the anime industry. But it's only a few times that they'll mention like studio animation employees, okay? But there are times where they will like mention that there's only like 10 to 30 in a small studio, and in a regular studio it's like 50 to 100, or maybe 100 to 200. Probably for Jujutsu Kaisen it was like 100 to 200, but like that's like bringing in it's not like in studio, okay? That's including outside resources, like outside the studio, okay? There had to have been, okay? It just had to be the case. If you researched on Jujutsu Kaisen's current conflict, or maybe their controversy, that's the word that I'm looking for. But this is all to say that 50 episodes, okay? Back then, not that different from today, okay? So you do the math there, okay? Like doing 50 episodes, it's very hard. And Jujutsu Kaisen, second season was 24 episodes or whatever. I don't know how many episodes it was. It was probably 20, 24, whatever. Point is that like people were dying there, okay? And if people were dying there to the point where they just like came to the breaking point and like wanted to like end their life, even like they just wanted it. I don't know if they actually did, but I know that they wanted it, okay? Sorry. And I really need to drink water. But you think about that and you compare it to back then, it's not that different. And the only difference is that the studio is a little bit more manageable, okay? Like they were a little bit more manageable, but animators are still working tirelessly, okay? And so that's why you should forgive the reused animations. That's why you should forgive the recap episodes, because now you should understand how harsh it is the anime world is, working for anime, okay? So, like you can have your gripes, I guess, but you have to understand that, like these animation studios, they're working on a budget, and like these animators, they're working hard, and animators, they don't want to put out a subpar product in themselves too, okay? They're working for Gundam. Gundam is a very well-respected series, a very well-respected brand, okay? Everybody loves Gundam, okay? In Japan. Like many people loved Gundam in Japan, and as an animator, one would want to take pride in working for such a studio, working for such a series, and they would give it their all, okay? So please understand that. I almost moved myself to tear just saying that. Like I almost cried, but it just goes to show like how much I understand the pain that these animators go through. Anyway, it's just like for them, it's worth every bit of their sweat, blood, and tears. But at the same time, they do have their limits, and that's why you should let them go with reusing animations and reusing certain frames or whatever, and like just redrawing over certain frames, kind of thing. Okay, but yeah, I'm gonna need a break from here. Continuing after this. Okay, so let's get into the flashbacks part. So flashbacks, the thing is, yeah, I've already mentioned about how, it's necessary for the characters, and if you were to watch the show, rewatch it, that is, you're gonna find that those constant flashbacks actually help, okay? Because they don't, the direction that Fukuda wanted to take was that he didn't want to have to take the time to have people talk about their feelings and whatnot. This is the battlefield, and he wants it to be feeling more real time than like today's anime, where today's anime is they will talk about what they're thinking and whatnot. Like just think My Hero Academia, he just keeps on talking in his mind while the fight is going on, right? And the direction that he wanted to take. I mean, back then, that was how it was. Like, that was the way that people did their animations anyway. That they wouldn't have them speaking their minds. And they let the subtlety do the work or whatever. But yeah, he couldn't really rely on that. He needed the flashback so that people can at least get a gist of what Shin's going through in his mind. For example, okay, you're gonna see a lot for Shin in the flashbacks.
if he really wants people to understand where they're coming from when they think these things. Now I keep giving him all the credit, but it could have been like, you know, the credit of sorry, let me just Chiaki. I was trying to see if I could get her name right, but in any case, yeah, cause like Chiaki Murasawa was the writer of the show, the main writer, and also the wife of director Fukuda. So they made the show together. Right? And, like I can't just give him all the credit. Credit has to also go to her and whoever the other writers were and all that stuff. Okay. The point is, but like he is the director of the show and like has to lead in how each episode is gonna go. Like what yeah, so they had to like they took a lot of pride in affecting like where the episode begins and where it ends.
Going back to this, you know, Shin, he's a good guy, and everybody knows that, but he's also immature, okay? And people can't seem to understand that. Like, he's 16. Like, if you have any gripes about him, it's the gripe that he's immature, right? But I just want people to be aware of it, that's all. So, like, if you hate Kira for being OP, you know, be aware of why he's OP kind of thing. And if you hate how Atherin would not, like, be resolute and like, he's just, like, walking in circles, right? Well, this is the reason why kind of thing. Or, like, maybe your perception of him, like, taking too long to make a choice could have been that you remembered things wrong, right? Like, the pacing of how he was running around in circles was not that long at all, actually. It was the perfect pacing, if you ask me, okay? But again, you'd have to rewatch the show to understand, if you didn't understand, that is. And then, like, so, back to Shin, he's immature, and then, like, as I said before, he's, like, every time Atherin tries to talk to him, Rei gets in the way. So Rei, Shin is very manipulatable for Rei, okay? And the reason for that is because, like, he's not into politics, he's not into, you know, all this other things that don't have to do with fighting. Like, he's just, because he's not into those things, like, he didn't do research or work on that, like, he was not interested. If someone's not interested in something, you can't force them to, like, understand how politics work or whatever, or, like, you know, you can't do their research for them, blah blah blah, right? So that's why he was so easily manipulatable for Rei. But even if he did do his research, I don't know if he could even comprehend it that well, because the way that he looks, the way that he sounds, like, he's always like, huh, what, huh, like, whenever like things like that kind of happen anyway, like, he's just not there. And, like, that's his fault as a human being, but you can't fault him as a character for that. You know what I mean? Like, if you understand that, and, like, you still don't like him, then fine, you know, fair enough. I just wanted to be aware, that's all. And the flashbacks, yeah, so they'll tell you why. I'm reading my script now. Rei has helped Shin many times, which I've already gone through. Oh yeah, and, like, so it doesn't get to people. Like, people, like, still wouldn't understand Shin even then after those flashbacks. And I think that a part of the reason for that was actually because they didn't include Ray's importance into the flashbacks. Like they'll give his importance in that like his reasoning skills are like he just keeps on pushing Atherton back and like Atherton can't do anything about it kind of thing. But I think they should have still included flashbacks about how he helped Shin. But you know, that's just my opinion. Maybe Shin doesn't think that way though. But like I guess it's like just to help people understand, right? Because they didn't understand even though there was like Fukuda did all he could kind of thing. But like you don't necessarily need the flashbacks of Ray helping Shin for Shin to like be on Ray's side, you know? But for the sake of the narrative, for the sake of people understanding the narrative, that's when it would be helpful, you know? Because people will forget how much Ray has helped Shin, okay? But I can understand that Fukuda would still not include it anyway, because that could be not how Shin thinks, okay? Like when he's flashbacking, that's not what he's thinking, right? Because in his mind, he doesn't need the flashbacks of Ray helping him to be on Ray's side. He's already on Ray's side without the flashbacks, you know? So yeah, I can respect that. But in any case though, so another thing is that like not only is Shin 16, but he's hot-headed as well. So being hot-headed means that it's hard to switch sides, okay? It's hard to see the rational point of view, especially when Ray comes in, right? Like he's like telling you, oh, Atherton's manipulating you. Oh, he's gone a bit crazy in the head. Oh, like, you know, he's like giving all these excuses or whatever, but they're believable excuses. That's the thing, okay? Like they are believable because it's like Atherton's just like betraying them all of a sudden or whatever. And then like Atherton comes back in the Infinite Justice to like reason with him again, and at that point, again, if Ray wasn't there, he probably could have turned right then and there. That's the thing. Like if it weren't for Ray, like I truly believe that would have been the case. And that's again a really good narration direction. I really back Fukuda's directing choice, or you know, their choice in how they went about that scene, I guess, or the narration of the show. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so here's a part where I talk about Chiaki Murasawa. So apparently there was drama, right? There was drama during the making of Destiny, and that drama was that Chiaki was she was thinking that the other staff, the female members of the staff, they were flirting with her husband and therefore, you know, trying to steal him away. And she felt that the biggest offender of that was Naomi Shindo, Kagali's voice actress, okay? Yeah, so Kagali's voice actress, and it is, so if you didn't watch the remastered, if you watched the one back then, which, you know, I'm trying to talk to this side of the audience, the ones that saw the show back then, you're going to find that Kagali didn't get much of a good showing. You know, she was always being beaten down kind of thing, right? And the reason for that was because of Chiaki, okay? She took out all the good parts of Kagali, right? And it was noticeable. There were fans, especially of Kagali, right? Like there were plenty of fans of Kagali. It's like, why isn't she able to do anything? Like, come on, let her do stuff. Let her have her piece. You know, like why is she even here? Is she just here to get bullied? Like this is not the Kigali that I know, kind of thing, right? Like, the Kigali I know is like more, you know, resolute, and I keep using resolute because I don't remember any other words. And sorry about that. You know, my brain is like fried. You know, going through 3 hours of talking about this show, defending for it. Like I don't have room to make new words. But in any case, you know, this is what they loved about Kigali is that she was such a tiger or whatever, you know. but none of that, you know, is in Destiny. But in Remastered, she does like get more justification in the remastered version. So complaints about that will be less from that point on because I've seen at least 2 clips of her doing something while I was like gathering clips for the video anyway. But yeah, it's just like her in Strike Rouge anyway. Strike Rouge got like in the old version, Strike Rouge got no action at all. Okay, like the only appearance that it had was for Kira to get to Strike Freedom, and at that point, like he just changes the color from Rouge back to the original Strike color. So it's like the only time that you get to see Strike Rouge was basically for a few seconds, and it didn't get any kind of action at all as Strike Rouge. But yeah, so you know, Strike Rouge gets its justified role in the new remastered version, and that's why, you know, remastered's Destiny is good. You know, you can always make a few arguments for Destiny in itself, but that was the past and this is now, and the now version is really good. But like even like compared to the past, right? Like these are just minor changes. It doesn't change anything for the rest of the narrative. The rest of the narrative was still the same as it was, you know, and it should be, right? Like Chiaki only changed a few minor things that was out of her own petty feelings or whatever. I don't know if it was petty. Like I was not there. I don't know what went on there, but you know what? We can probably even trust, like some people can all probably trust her reasoning that maybe, you know, the girls staff were flirting with him, because the thing is that Gundam Seed and Destiny were like there's a lot of female audience following, so when you're the director of that kind of show, it's obvious that you're gonna have that kind of riz, okay, that charisma that girls will flock to, okay, and that's why I feel that there is some justification to Chiaki's her reasoning for feeling that way, right? And Chiaki herself is the writer of the show, and when I get down, when I'm like reading the writing or like looking at the writing of the show, you know, she really understands the characters, okay? That's the thing. And like even though she took out some parts for Kigali and maybe even like took out some parts for Lacus and whatever, right? Like she probably did, I don't know. But Kigali was very obvious though. Okay. And even though that's the case, she didn't ruin the narrative, okay? So she still had enough respect for the show to not ruin the narrative. And this was for back then, okay? For remastered, I believe that it came out in 2016, and I also believe that Chiaki died. She passed away in 2016 as well, around that time. But yeah, because like I'm reading this article right now, and it was posted in 2016, February 22nd, and she died on Friday, February 19th. So that was like, so the article is 3 days afterwards. And she died at 56, and she had problems with her body ever since the end of Gundam Seed Destiny. So yeah, she was able to complete Gundam Seed Destiny before she got ill, I guess, is what this article is telling me. But I heard online that she was hospitalized before the end of Destiny, because that would explain why Kira didn't have many speaking parts. Okay, so in Destiny back then, now I don't remember, you know, like the difference between remastered and the original Kira lines, like his lines in the original and in the remastered. Like I can't compare them, okay? Because I can't remember if he has more lines now than back then. But I do vaguely remember that he had very little lines back then, okay? And like when I'm rewatching the remastered version, as I'm making clips and whatnot, it does feel like he's talking more. I feel like it's not like he doesn't have any lines, because back then it felt like he only had like 3 lines at most, I think, maybe 5 lines. But in the remastered version, I can believe that he has at least 10 lines, maybe more. He's still pretty quiet, but I understand his character anyway, so that's why I don't mind it that he's a man of few words. But you know, he should be a man of few words, because like he just understands the situation so well from the fundamental point of view, right? Like he will say things. It's like, oh, like for one, it's like Kigali is crying. Like, can't you understand that? Like, just Kigali crying is enough of a reason to fight, kind of thing. All right, and isn't that such a Giga Chad move? Like, such a Giga Chad way of thinking, right? His sister's crying. That's all the reason he needs to fight, right? In any case, let's see. Moving on, I guess, because yeah, I mean, when the remastered version has new parts for Kigali now, at least that means that they've gotten past their qualms and their quarrels of back then, right? Let's see. The next topic. Shin remaining the main character. Okay, so I've already talked about how, you know, 40 episodes of being the main character is already respectable in this day and age now. So that's why I'm making this video, right? And like, we should understand that at this point. But also, let's amuse the idea, okay, of him remaining the main character. So how is it gonna work? Okay, I thought about it, and it's like, if he remains the main character, cause like the thing is that the way that the narration's going, and has always been going, is that Durandal has always been scheming, right? He's a schemer, and he was doing this from the very start. That, you know, he had this giant weapon and was willing to like burn the earth or whatever with his giant weapon, okay? So it's like Shin turns on them for that reason. Is that what it is? If that's the case, then there's really not much of a villain anymore, I guess. But it's like, Also, you know, it wouldn't be what is it called? Fair. It wouldn't be fair to Kira. Okay? Like the Kira fans, right? Is like, oh, Kira was like in this war or whatever, and then like he's like doing all this shit, all this work and uh turning the tides of the battlefield or whatever, right? And then he has to die now, like, and then for what? For what reason is he dying? Kind of thing. It's like Athrun will hate Shin, I guess. I mean, he can't blame Shin though, I guess, because it was the order to kill, to destroy the freedom, right? And Archangel, so he can't really blame Shin. But like, let's say even with that, right? So okay, Kira dies, and then like Athrun turns, I guess. Like I'm like thinking of this as I'm going along right now, because I've already thought of it before, and before was just he turns and like he's with Athrun, and then with Athrun, like how much of an enemy are they anymore, right? Like you have Rey, you have Luna Maria, I guess, but like Luna Maria can turn too. Like where's the chance that she wouldn't turn if Athrun and Shin turned, right? Like she respects Athrun, she understands where Athrun is coming from, I guess. And then there's also Mayrin, like he could probably clear up that misunderstanding, I guess. Maybe. But in any case, so with Rey and Luna Maria, like Shin turning on them, Shin's the star player, you know? Like I have no doubt that Shin is a better fighter than Rey, you know? But whether that's actually the case, that's up to the narrative, I guess. That's up to Fukuda to like make sure that Rey is equal to him with the whole funnels, right? Like the funnels will get in the way or something, maybe. But I don't see that happening, because the thing is that Destiny is really fast. That's the point of its, that's one of its strengths, is it being really fast. And so he can like outmaneuver all those, what's it called? Funnels. And then just, you know, get in on Rey in the 1v1, and then like he's like done from there. And then there's Luna Mario. And then like Athrun is the same, right? Like he can also beat Rey pretty decisively, I would believe anyway, because he's better than Shin at close combat. But not only that, once again, Kira and Athrun are equal in skill. Okay, it's canon that they're equal. And the reason I say that is because that there's like this like Gundam Seed short thing where they're both like chibis or whatever, and then they have them like fighting against each other in a video game, and this video game they both explode at the same time, and therefore it was a draw. So that's where they basically tell you, oh yeah, they're equal. And when you like think about it, it truly is the case. But yeah, so there's really not much of an enemy anymore at that point. And even if Luna Mario comes in, like she's third place kind of thing, it's like she can't really do much. And you see in Athrun's fight with her, like she was no match at all. But yeah, I mean, with only 10 episodes to work with, I guess, maybe they just didn't have enough time to have more fight scenes, and they had to make it more decisive. Because the thing is, as I watched in my third rewatch, you know, every episode, it all made sense that why, you know, they gotta put in time into this, they gotta put in time into that, and blah blah blah, setting up stuff. You know, they have to, like, they really want to emphasize the story, okay? They really want to emphasize the story and the characters and their reasonings for being there, kind of thing. And when they do that, there's not much time to put into fighting, I guess. But I guess it's also that they want to give the animators a break, you know, like less fighting means I mean, less work for the animators, right? Like again, 50 episodes is 50 episodes, so when you think about it, right? And they had to work nonstop too. I don't think there was ever like a break in season, because back then that's not how it works. Okay, you have to do all 50 episodes, and that's why the recap episodes are there, and 4 of them even. But you know, that's only 4 weeks of break, and that's like in between each. So 10 or so episodes, I guess. Anyway, they were probably not consistent either. Like you'd probably get a recap episode maybe 4 episodes later after the last recap episode. Probably I don't remember, but you know, it'll tell you the state of the studio, you know, having these recap episodes at really wild times or whatever, you know. And we all respect it, okay? That it's just impossible to make the anime perfect with the conditions that they have to work in, okay? And the conditions that they had to work in was weekly releases, and they had to, you know, dish it out before the week, before the episode airs, kind of thing. That has not changed from back then, and back then that's like the practice, okay? That was how it was, and that's terrible practice, and they really shouldn't do that, but that's just how it is. And when you accept these flaws, right, it becomes a lot more enjoyable, the show. Like it tells a story in itself, right? That's what makes it more enjoyable, is that you're able, like I'm able to see how the story of the production, and that makes me respect the people that made the show even more, kind of thing. It may not be a masterpiece, okay, when you look at it from the surface, but when you understand where it's coming from, the story behind it, like the story behind the production, then it becomes more forgivable, and I find it more enjoyable too, because it gives it more character, right? It gives the recap episodes more character. It gives the reused animation more character. It can give the flashbacks a little bit more character too, right? So this is a very healthy way of thinking, okay? And like it can like bring you back, because if you live with hate, then it's hard to get anywhere, especially in this day and age. But even back then, I lived with hate, and I hated so much things, right? And it just was not worth it at all. Like, so no matter what era you live in, hate will always get in the way, right? Of well, you want to be happy anyway. Like if you want to be happy, you can't be hating, okay? Like that's just the way it is. You can't be happy with hate. But you know, I'm just telling you how it is, and even though it doesn't directly have to do with the show, it does indirectly have to do with it. Like, why do I think this way, and why is it that this is justified? You know, why is it show justified for these reasons? These are the reasons, right? And you can still not like the recap episodes. You can still not like the reused animations, but at least now it has more character. Now at least you understand a little bit better. Now you are more aware, right? I at least made you more aware, and that's the whole point, right? I want you to be more aware, and it would be great if you can accept it, kind of thing, right? Or eventually, I believe that you can accept it because if you're a good person, then it's gonna happen eventually, one day. That's why I make the video. Okay, so at this point, quite a bit of time has passed and I'm like editing the video, right? And I just realized how, this is something that I can't often see in real time. But like, yeah, watching back into it, it's as if I'm Atherin and my audience is Shin. Understand why you're angry. Oh my god. It's too funny. Because like, that's exactly what I'm doing really. It's like, understand why you don't like this and be more aware about, like what this is about kind of thing. It's like, you need to be more informed about things before you truly judge the show kind of thing. Alright, but since this video is already gonna be over 3 hours long anyway, I might as well just add this in that having a special mention. Yes, I am going to do a topic about Stella. Why? Because you see, this girl was so controversial. I just want to talk about how back then, okay, like dumb blondes were a thing. Dumb blondes, like for some reason, coincidentally, some Japanese, media of some kind will like coincidentally work with that dumb blonde trope. And back then, dumb blonde was where like blonde people are just really dumb. Like they're like a different species or something because they do things that don't make sense and like they defy logic with the way that they do their actions and whatnot. And Stella kind of was like that, but when you dive deep into it though, Stella is definitely not like that. She's not a dumb blonde. But I mean, I guess by technicalities, she could be. Just because of how simple-minded she is. But at the same time, being simple-minded, she's also very pure in the way that she thinks. And we'll be getting into that. So yeah, that's why like a lot of people hated this girl because they associated her as such, but also that she's really crazy and like why does Shin like this girl at all? Like she's crazy, she's dumb, she's and she's the enemy as well. Remember that one? She's also an enemy. But in any case, she's also childish. I should also mention that. And like what added on top of it, like this is not something that really matters, but like people again, when they hate something, they will add more to the flame, they will just do anything to add to it. And one of those things was just that she killed a lot. Okay, like that's a reason to hate her. Now, like without context, it makes sense. Like to hate someone because they killed a lot, like she killed way more people than she is humanly possibly supposed to be able to do, I guess. I mean, that's speaking from a no context point of view, okay? But when you put in the context, it all makes sense, and like you shouldn't be hating her for it. Like, for one thing, she's a soldier. she's made for war. Of course she's you know, supposed to be killing a lot, or like you know, if she can kill a lot, she will, kind of thing, right? Like, anybody that can kill a lot will kill a lot if when they're told to, especially. Like, she was told to kill a lot, so there she goes, killing a lot because she was told to. That's a soldier, you know. Soldiers are supposed to do what their commander tells them to, right? In any case. But yeah, like, if you still don't like her after I go through the I wouldn't call it deep dive, but like, it is kind of deep in a way. But in any case, let's just get into it, right? If you don't like her after that, then it's fine, but I just want you to remember that this is fiction, and when you really think about it, she's a well-made character. So I never really explained it about what it means to be a bad character and a bad human being, I guess, or person. Because like, being a bad character means like the character was not written well. They don't have proper motives, or like their actions can sometimes seem like out of character, you know, doing out of character things, or like you know, there's just like Deus Ex Machina or whatever kind of deal. Like, you just, or you know how Trigger, they would do this, pull the shenanigan where it's like they just take everything to space and then like do lots of big explosions and big battles and whatnot. In Darling in the Franxx, anyway, that was the case. But in any case, like, yeah, that's like that's a point of like a bad story. But like, you put that into a character, right? And it's like, how did this character know to go to space and do a big battle or whatever? Or like, why is this suddenly escalated so much all of a sudden? Back to Stella. But yeah, back to Stella. So she was made for the sole purpose of war, and it's only natural for her to be unstable with the backstory that they're given. That the three were given, right? The other two seemed pretty fine, but at the same time, how they cope with things is by looking down on things and looking down on others, and like, you know, just being toxic gamers kind of thing, right? That was their way of coping with everything, and they just want to, you know, to be bad boys playing with their toys and destroying everything and whatever. But in any case, so yeah, but my counterpoint is that, like, you know, besides those two, why shouldn't a soldier like Stella be made? Do you get what I'm getting at from there? You know, because she's a character that provides a lot of details as to what kind of life they've had up till now. We know that she and the others are experiments, and they went through hell to get to this point. It's not that she's the only unstable personality. It's that she's the only unstable personality that's alive. You know, that we get to see. Like, there were probably like tens or 20s of other unstable personalities that just couldn't survive, and like, they wanted to kill themselves, or maybe they just wanted to have their lives ended anyway, or like this and that, you know, all kinds of reasons, right? And it's like, only 3 people came out of this that we get to see in Destiny. Another one that came out of this was the pilot of Strike Noir, which you'll find in Seed something. It's not Astray, I know that. It's but you know, just search for Strike Noir Gundam Seed, and then you'll find the series that he's from, right? But yeah, that guy was one of them. Okay, the same as Stella and the others. But yeah, so she represents those unstable personalities, right? Like it's not that she was the only one. Let's see. But yeah, like unstable personalities in general, they're unreliable. You can't predict them, and again, many of them wouldn't be strong enough for sure. Like you just like you have comparisons even to this day. Like people with mental instability, unstable minds, whatever you call them, depression and whatever, you know, emos. They aren't strong enough, right? Like they're always staying inside, or they don't exercise, and they just like they can't handle anything, right? But yeah, I mean, this is like, so it's them but cranked up to a 10, right? Or whatever, cranked up to 100 even, whatever you want to call that phrase. But in any case, being the only unstable product that came out of it, it just meant that she was strong enough and predictable enough or controllable enough, you know, because again, she's simple-minded, and while for me, that makes her likable, because she just wanted to live, and even in the first episode, she was dancing against a window, you know, seeing her reflection. Because my theory is that was her first time seeing herself in that dress. So, like, you know, she's supposed to dress like a citizen, like a normal citizen, and they give her it to like dress up, but I guess she never saw it in the mirror, right? She just wore it, and she's just thinking about the mission. But then once she's outside and walking down the streets, she gets to look at everything. You know, it's very peaceful, very colorful world. And then she looks at herself in the mirror, and like now she's getting in one of them was like saying that she was in getting in some kind of mood. But yeah, she sees herself pretty, and she probably just felt like a princess or a dancer. So if it weren't for war, she'd be like a peaceful animal, right? Just like sleeping or whatever, or dancing and just living freely, right? But in the end, she was manipulated and used, and people blame it on her crazy personality, but nobody wants to die, you know? Like, she didn't want to die the most out of everybody, kind of thing. And as you'll find as you like watch the show, die is her trigger word, you know? And like today's is 2024, right? It's like so many people are going to understand her personality these days. But yeah, die was her trigger word, and that word was used against her, right? So this is how, like, to control her, how she's so simple-minded, right? And like the moment they use the word die, she like starts freaking out, but she also starts retreating, right? And at first she'll always want to be like trying to take down the enemy in front of her. That's so hard to take down because she's getting competitive and whatnot, and like really into the zone, because you know she was trained to be a soldier, and she's trained to, I guess, not really trained. Well, like her way is that she will keep going after the enemy until they're dead, kind of thing. Like it's like one of those deadly animals, wolves or something. I don't know. Well, what animal keeps fighting until they die anyway? But yeah, at the same time, she's afraid to die, and like if there's an overwhelming enemy, Kira, then you know that'll do it for her. It's like this enemy clearly outclasses her, and therefore they can clearly kill her, right? So that's how Kira becomes her PTSD, is because of how easily she gets overwhelmed by him, you know? But yeah, like, and then there's the others using it against her. And you'll even find in when she's piloting the destroy Gundam, right before it, Neo's like telling her that everybody's gonna kill them, and that they'll die if she doesn't do something, blah blah blah. So that's why she pilots it and destroys everything. And that's very simple, right? Very simple girl. And I saw this, like, I was just like casually watching probably like episode 3 or 4 of Destiny, and like Owl and that green haired guy, they were like talking about how they want to they were waiting to kill some people or like cause some ruckus, haha, let's get some kills in, blah blah blah. And then they're like, right, Stella? And then when when they turn to her, she's like, huh? What? she was just like looking outside in the like stargazing or something, I guess. And she had no interest in in what they were talking about, right? Like, she just doesn't care about feeding her own bloodthirstiness like they do, right? She doesn't have this bloodthirsty thing going on. And again, like, she kills for the sake of living, really. She thinks that she has to kill to live, and that's fair, that's how it is in war. Like, children in war, how else would they really think? They wouldn't just kill for fun, because the thing is that they see the enemies to be a lot stronger than them, so why would they ever what's it called? Why would they ever underestimate them, kind of thing, right? But yeah, I believe that she never really underestimated her enemies like the other two do. But gotta rewatch the show to see if that's the case. But even if there was a time, I doubt like it's more than once, right? Like, one time, cool, but other than that, that's not really a part of her, like, that's not really her personality, kind of thing, right? In any case, let's see. Yeah, I think that I said enough. I had this script about how, if you give a child a gun and you tell them to shoot a soldier, and if you tell them like that soldier's gonna kill everybody you love and whatnot, if you don't shoot them, then they'll do it, right? But I'm sure that you already understand at this point. But yeah, and then another thing was that she could be reached by Shin. They went through this development. At first she didn't. She was cautious of him and pushed him away. But as he did save her, and then again she saved her again. She saved her twice. Yeah. So he saved her twice, and so when she was in the Destroy Gundam, that I believe that is like more than enough reason for Shin to be able to reach her when he did, even though she's so unstable, right? And by unstable, it's like it's from seeing freedom, right? But yeah, Stella truly believed in him, believed in Shin, and would have let go of everything if it weren't for that little explosion that woke her from her dream. After that explosion, her PTSD came back because she sees Kira, she sees the freedom, and it's like, what caused that explosion? She sees freedom, and then boom, she instantly thinks it's the freedom that caused that explosion onto her, right? But in any case, after that, like, she was basically unstoppable. And not only was Kira going after, like, was gonna stop her, Minerva and Archangel, like, they were both going to shoot her too if it weren't for Kira. So the Archangel and Minerva would have obliterated her along with the Gundam if it weren't for Kira. So at least the body was saved, and Shin was able to get his final farewell in before going after Kira, which is like really sad that Shin couldn't see that, because he's like he was just so narrow. I wouldn't want to say narrow-minded. It's tunnel visioned. Okay, he was tunnel visioned. That's all. Like there's like all he could see was that Stella was going to die, kind of thing, right? He didn't really pay attention to the fact that it had to be done, I guess, or he can't see that the Minerva and Archangel are aiming and charging to fire at her too. Like all he could see was Kira getting in that final strike, and that's it, right? And a lot of people back then, even though they hate Shin, they honestly relate to him, okay? But they just don't see it. They didn't see it that they could relate to him. That's the thing. Because a lot of people, like especially the ones that are hating, right? They love to tunnel vision, right? They just focus on these few things. They don't look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture of like if Shin hating Kira, is them hating Kira or hating the show for these aspects, whether it's like recap episodes or flashbacks and constant flashbacks and all that stuff, right? Then it's as if like Shin not being able to see that the Archangel Minerva was charging to fire as well, and that Stella was just about to like shoot at everything as well. And that's like the equivalent to everybody else, those haters, just not seeing the rest of the show for what it is, which is like the narrative direction, how well the characters are made. Probably that they can't really, because like back then, who could relate to Stella? Like those that related to Stella were very few, and they didn't have a voice back then, kind of thing, right? But nowadays on Twitter, like there are so many people with a voice that are a lot like Stella. But in any case, let's see. So yeah, Stella was a victim, and she got so much unnecessary hate, and it was always unpleasant for me every time someone like mentions her, like just hating her for this and that. And it's like, I mean, I just back then I couldn't justify it, because I didn't know better either. It's like, why is it that I feel this way? Why is it that I want to defend her? Like she's so sad, so pitiful, and yet people are attacking her for killing so much or whatever and being crazy bitch. And then it's like, but like her past, she's so sad and stuff. And back then that was not good enough, right? It's not good enough to have a very sad past. And even to this day, there's still that notion about how just because you have a bad past, that's an excuse, kind of thing. Like, oh, it doesn't matter that you had a bad past, that's just an excuse. But the case is that, that's being ignorant, kind of thing. That truly is just being ignorant, because everybody else if they were in her shoes would have done the same. And if they're not her, they're either Owl or the green-haired guy, which I'll never remember the name of. You know, like they're either her or they're those two other guys, like because again they had a really shitty past, like they were experiments and they were made to kill, and what do they have besides having this superiority complex or just wanting to live a normal life or a peaceful life eventually. You know, that was Stella's dream, that like once she kills everybody that she's commanded to, then she can finally live peacefully, kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I doubt that anybody is gonna watch this far into the video, which is you know, one of the reasons why I'm doing it. But you know, like if you did get this far into the video anyway, that means that you were willing to give the show another shot, and it would be a really great rewatch, in my opinion. Yeah, once, because like you've watched this entire video, listened in or whatever, even if you don't get everything, you still can get the gist of what I'm talking about. And once you watch the show, you can pay attention to these things, right? That in itself was a lot of fun for me. And like I've done it twice, okay? And every time I rewatched it, I always found something new to appreciate, and then like I get to reappreciate the things that I've already noticed the last rewatches anyway. But yeah, you know, if you were to watch the remastered series on Gundam Info's YouTube channel, you're gonna find comments from a whole year ago that understand the show better now too, you know, and you should really look for those comments, because again, these kinds of things can enrich your experience. For every episode, I always like look back at the comments to see what they say, and when the remastered version first came out, it was getting a lot of hate and everything. Like people were still having the same opinion that they had back then, and then again, as I showed with Iris's chat, there are still a few people that still keep that old perspective, you know, and they'll never go away. But again, the point of this video is just to make people more aware, and eventually this hate will probably be long gone, you know, if this were to ever get traction, or if like people were to just understand after rewatching to this day, and there'd be very little people that would attack the show now, if they were to understand how anime works, and like the direction that Fukuda took and whatnot, or like try to understand, I guess, because again, like it is not hard to bash on the Gundam Seed part where Kira takes a full explosion to the face. Like that just cannot be argued. Like that is completely plot armor. Okay, that's like the biggest plot armor move ever to exist, kind of thing, right? And he's basically a freaking cockroach. Like, how else am I gonna put it? Even I, who loves the show so much, will not defend that, okay? But what I will defend is that the choice to keep it, right? And director Fukuda keeps it because of how much of an impact it made on everybody the day that they watched that episode, okay? And you know what? It's like a trophy in a way. And at the same time, it is like the cause of the Gundam Seed hate, but at the same time, I guess it was more worth it than really, because of all overwhelming positive reactions when Kira was still alive. You know, when people still saw that Kira was alive, there were so many, you know, positive reactions, and just everybody loved that kind of thing. It's like it was a proof of concept, I guess, where Kira was a very lovable character at the time, okay? And of course he would be, because of all the battles he had to go through, and how he had to adjust himself, especially in the desert arc, like how he had to adjust the Gundam to fit with the sands, to fit like standing on the sands and working with the sand anyway. But yeah, like as the director, that's where I can see why he would keep it in, kind of thing. Like, I mean, if you had to be there to understand it, kind of thing. And I'm sure that those that hated the show once loved the show and once felt the same way, you know? Like, they just started hating because they wanted to be different, or like they just have this malice in their heart eventually for some reason, whether it was like family conditions or whatnot. Because, like, I mean, people bullying them and like people attacking them, or like them being insecure about themselves, can play a really big part in how they perceive the world, right? And therefore perceive Seed. And but you know, like I can see where people come from anyway. Like, it's still valid to say that he's OP. Like, I never rejected that idea, kind of thing, because he is. He really is. Like, I can't reject those two things, and at the same time, I still love Kira, of course, because, I mean, what I love about Kira is his personality and his Gundam, and just how cool the Gundam is, right? Like, that's the point of the show in the first place, right? To show off how cool these Gundams are and their capabilities and what they can do. And I mean, that's the point of giant robots, right? that really is just the point. But in any case, yeah, like, Kira's personality just fits so well with his Gundam too, with how cool and collected he was and all that. But you know, as I dive deeper into his personality, I can only like him more. And he was just born with it, right? He was literally born with it. Born to be the ultimate coordinator, and for some reason survive an explosion. Like, a cockroach can survive a nuclear explosion. So I guess that's where they got there. That's where they got the reference from, you know. But I'm not gonna hate him. I'm not gonna hate anything. Like, I love the show too much at this point, and I'm being the opposite of a hater, really. It's like, but at the same time, I still have a really bad past, you know. So, I mean, like, at this point, it's like I'm saying, what's your excuse, kind of thing, because I had to battle my bad past, and I still love Gundam Seed. And then, like, I learned to like a lot of things about Gundam Seed. Like, back then, I didn't like Mir Campbell. I didn't like Flay Ulster. I didn't like Durandal. I didn't like Ray. I didn't like Rowlet Crusade. But I learned to like them. I just like, I tried to put myself in their shoes, and well, I mean, in the first place, I'm the type of person that tries to put myself in other people's shoes, so that's why. Like, I have tried to put myself into the shoes of all kinds of girls and women and how they would think and whatnot. It's like, why did they think this way, kind of thing. Like, why can a bitch like Flay Ulster exist, kind of thing. But when I put myself in her shoes, it's like, oh, like her father died to coordinators, and she hates coordinators, and at the same time she's fighting with her feelings about how Kira is a coordinator, and like she's racist, sure, but like at the same time she was fighting her racist side too. Like, you have to give her credit for that. Like, it's hard for people to fight their weaknesses, like, I know that better than anybody else, to how hard it is to fight one's weakness. So it's like, that's why I can see that how she was struggling with her weakness of being a racist. Like, the way that she was struggling, I mean, I've been in her shoes. Not that I was racist, just that I struggled so much with overcoming my own weakness. It took me such a long time. And then, like, she's going through all these things, and she's finding out things about people, I guess. Like, when she had to get off of the Archangel, and Kira broke up with her. She then got kidnapped by Rala Crusade because she could serve as a hostage of some kind, because she's the daughter of some important person, and so if he has someone like that, then they wouldn't dare shoot him down, kind of thing, right? But in any case, she was taken in by Rally Crusade, and she got to learn that coordinators weren't monsters, right? And when she learned that, then she wanted to apologize to Kira after that, right? And when you think about it like that, it was so, like, I felt so much sadness and pity overcoming me for her, like I really wanted her apology to get through to Kira, like for her to be able to survive and tell Kira that she's sorry, kind of thing. Like, I truly wanted that, because she became a better person, right? It's one of those things where, like, people will keep hating her because of what she did, like what she did to Kira and the others. She was a total bitch. She did bitch moves. She did bitch things, but she learned from she became a better person after that, because of this and that, and she was ready to change to, like, not be that bitch anymore. And isn't that what's supposed to be, important about a human being? That they learned from their past, that they won't do it again, and that they are willing to reconcile and be better, and just do good for the world. Even I think that after, if she had survived, she would have, like, done her part for the good of the world, right? Because again, she is the daughter of a very important person, and therefore she would have had to play a big role somehow, I believe, anyway, because Lacus still had to play a big role even though her father died. But yeah, like, Flay was basically the Earth's version of Lacus Klein, even though she's not, like, influential like Lacus Klein, because she got to live a normal life, a school life, but at the same time she does have influence anyway, and she probably would have had to play a part if she had lived. And I'm sure that she would have wanted to do like make the world a better place kind of thing anyway. I believe that would have been the case anyway. But yeah, like gotta try to look at people for who they are now and not who they were back then kind of thing. Like for me it was so obvious that she has changed for the better. Like even without her dying and becoming a spirit, you know, like she was just she was just longing for Kira kind of thing. Well, I mean, maybe she wouldn't have done anything for the world, but like she would have been a better person for sure anyway, and like she would help people as a result. Like if, for example, she could help with the orphanage with Kira and live with them kind of thing, probably anyway. Or she could go off and do her own thing. I don't know. I don't really care. I just know that she'll do something good, right? But yeah, I just ended up talking about Flay Ulster by accident, but whoops. In any case, yeah, if you like this video, please like it, and you know, when someone attacks the show, I hope that maybe, you know, maybe someone will defend for it. Have a good day, good night, and hope you enjoy Gundam Seed and Destiny Remastered if you rewatch it.